It's Crossfinger, baby. It's Crossfinger, baby.
And we are live. Welcome to WFA Today. I am joined by the entire crew. I am joined by, from left to right, or is it right to left? You pick. Me, Hammer, Noah, Jake, and Jack. Jack is definitely here with us right now. He's definitely not just a voice. But how are we all doing tonight? It's not tonight. Well, it's tonight for some of you. I'm doing great. Whatever. Let's start. This is great. Let's.
It's tonight for you? I thought you were behind, man.
It's tonight if you're in the United Kingdom.
It's tonight with the right attitude.
It's tonight somewhere.
5 o'clock
right?
somewhere.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
But
We have an incredibly packed show because there's been so much that has happened in the offseason so far. We have a lot of big changes rules-wise, so stick around. We're going to have like an AMA kind of thing, so if you have questions, throw them in the chat. We'll try to answer them as we go on. But as you can see, the slides this is not the right slide, so I give us an A plus so far. I give us an A plus. So
we're doing great.
But I'm gonna throw it to you, Noah. How are you doing? There's been some big news that you specifically like to talk about, so I'll let you take the lead on this whole situation as I figure out the slides.
Yeah, we're talking about Baby Goat, yeah?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, a very unfortunate nickname for the situation that has now happened. First got reports of Cade Smith, for those unfamiliar, the now former Washington Wastelanders running back who has put himself in a decent amount of trouble for a mystery that we have been wondering about for a decade at this point in league years.
For those around us, because we've had a lot of new faces in chat. I see a couple of you, Jacob, Chad, welcome in. And obviously we got Deshaun Wallace as well, who is one of the rookies coming up in this prospects. Well, for those newer WFA members, what is the backstory to why Baby Goat, other known as Cade Smith, is so hated?
So back in the day, the Cade Smith is one of the players that came into the league season 1, with his father, Chad Smith, a veteran presence at the quarterback spot for the Wichita Pride. Everything was hunky-dory. They did great, whatever. And then right before season 2, Chad Smith was found dead, disappeared, and was like just completely taken away from the league. Very, very sad, I'm sure. And so there's been this big mystery about how did he die? How did that happen? Why did that happen? If you're a big famous guy, you don't die like that. Um, and so now, after 10 seasons, we finally have the answer, or at least we think we do. Cade Smith has been arrested and now is put on the league. What is the league probationary?
Yeah, the
What do we
commissioner's
call- what is
exempt
it called?
list is, I think, the name of it.
There you go.
And yeah, that's a big news. Obviously, having a simulated player who doesn't exist die and then kill someone else. Someone, his own son, killing him. Jack, how do you think this is going to affect the Wastelanders' plans going into the offseason? They lose their running back to this whole unfortunate situation. You obviously lose Middlebrooks to retirement. How is this going to affect the Wastelanders moving into season 12?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. If you don't, I'll be the first. I'll be the first then. Well,
That's
obviously
good, 'cause
for the
I-
Wasteland.
You were called
You
out.
were the
It was
one.
your name that
Yeah.
was said.
You were the
Yeah.
one, so.
Yeah. Hey, look. You got me off track. So obviously now with the Wastelanders, they have some pretty big shoes to fill around their roster. Now, fortunately for them, at least in some of their major positions, it is a bit of a market that kind of benefits them. Particularly when a big thing is when it comes to quarterbacks. Now, the quarterbacks that are on the board aren't the best crop, but admittedly, you don't have to worry that much about them being like not the greatest, because you're gonna have at least like you're gonna not have to pay him as much. Obviously, and you got a couple different options. You can go the veteran route. You can go with Hugo. Give Hugo probably his retirement tour. You could also probably go with Michael Brown, the youngster. There's actually 2 youngsters available here. You got Michael Brown and King Jackson. Both of them available to be picked up. Or you could go with TD Hartfixen, but does he really even exist?
The TD Hartfixen
It's not
slander
real.
is absolutely wild. Another element to consider with all this is Washington, their first pick is 9th in the draft because they succeeded pretty well in the playoffs. They're picking behind a lot of the QB needy teams. So draft wise, not sure if you're gonna be able to get. I mean, obviously Jamaica picking number 1. In front of them still is Long Beach, another team I think a lot of us think might take a quarterback. You might be getting the 3rd choice in the draft. So obviously you're gonna have to fill these holes eventually. And they're talking about holes. Let's talk about. Let's shift gears slightly. I know, great transition. And talk about the expansion draft. Obviously, Jamaica Hummingbirds returning to the league after being out of the season for a while. Jake, I know Hummingbirds are near and dear to your heart. Tell us how excited you are how the Hummingbirds are returning.
The birds are back, baby. Jamaica, the WFA is better when Jamaica is good. And so when you don't have a Jamaica, it's really hard to have the Hummingbirds be good when they don't exist. So
Logic.
they're back. And I love the birds. They're fun. They got cool colors. They usually have fun uniforms, except whatever happened to the last time they played football. Those uniforms were bad. But yeah, I'm excited for Lemon Birds. The whole expansion draft. I think they actually walked out pretty solid starting spot. I got some good players here. I think they did really well in the receiving room. That's a very strong receiving room to open up with.
Yeah,
We got Pierce, Denibola. That's a good start. Jesus, we let them walk away with that.
yeah, and I would talk about that.
Nick-
Noah, anything pop out as catch your eye when you talk about the Jamaica Hummingbirds? As I throw up their roster for all you guys. Obviously they take Mac Anthony in the expansion draft. Running back wise, interesting situation. Bill Cherry's their starting running back, who I don't believe started last season. Do you think they're going to add more to this team running back wise in the draft and the free agency, or do you think they're going to let this run how it is right now?
Well, I mean, if they were to try and get rid of a running back, that'd be a little bit goofy considering the cut penalties for some of these guys.
Yeah, that's a good. I mean, it's not too bad. I mean, Storm, Peyton, and Cherry is 900, is under $1 million, but still, it's like you go out and take these guys in the expansion draft. Do you think this backfield is strong enough for Jamaica to be good this season? No, I'll start with you.
I think that there were better places you could have put your money. Bill Cherry might have been one of the ones that slipped through the cracks as being a little bit better than he should. But with everything else that I'm looking at on this team, there were definitely spots that I would have prioritized a bit more. I mean, they have a solid roster, but there were guys out there that they passed up on where I'm like, even if this wasn't a big position of need, you still could have gotten them and been okay. I'm thinking specifically of Matt Bradley, the safety from Pottsville, who was available and didn't get picked up. Jamison Bloodfeaster's he's on the older side, but he's a great talent at linebacker. And there were a couple other guys sprinkled throughout that I was like, huh, that's weird that they didn't pick him up. And there's you're looking at a bunch of different positions, and that's true. But the only way to get better is coming from my own team, Deion Ramsey on the Crabs. So there was a lot of defensive spots that were available because of the rules and how things were set up, and they didn't attack it as much as they could have. I don't know if I would have drafted a backup quarterback because you can get one on the market one way or the other. I don't know if I would have taken 2 running backs when I could have gotten something else, So I think that there were some better options they could have made. I think that they're still in a decent enough position, but I think they could have worked a little bit harder on getting the best possible talents available.
Here's something I'm going through looking at it. Jamaica only has one player, their kicker, Jeffrey Davis, over 30 years old. Everyone else is under 30. I think that is what they're looking for. They wanted to, because I've talked to JW, who's the coaching down in Jamaica. They want to go young. They want to build the roster from the ground up. They don't want to. They want this team to be completely their own. And even though it's not a strong running back room, there have been teams in the past. I don't know if you guys have heard of them, who have proven that you don't need a running game to succeed in this league. So Jamaica might be taking a page out of a certain team's book, from up north. But yeah, I like the starting. I do like taking Mac Anthony. I think he's young. I feel like he has a lot of potential. Obviously, I would look to bring in obviously another little bit better quarterback, more of a veteran side, if you want to develop Mac Anthony, because we've seen teams take lower rated quarterbacks and turn them into actual good starters. Remember, the Jamie Spencer was a copper quarterback that ended up finishing as a silver, but when it was all said and done, I'm not mad at the Jamaica start.
Go ahead.
Or I remember something along those lines too. I think it's like 2 of the last 3 Gen Bowls have had like a bronze quarterback play in that game. Because it was Colin Pierce this last time for Vegas, and then Gen Bowl 9, it was Jack P for Wyoming. Now, Neither of those quarterbacks won the Gen Bowl, but they got there. They got close.
Yeah, you can get there with a team around it. And I just want to call it in the chat. Washington Wastelanders owner Chad Rowland saying Smith was going to be released regardless for Washington, so he's already in the plans, and this is totally fine for them. And that little shot at Jamaica saying, "Don't lie, Copeland built that team." You know, obviously Chad and Copeland worked together before back in Lincoln earlier in the WFA. You know, some bad blood there. Maybe it's some rivalry situation going on there. I have to check, but I want to know if they're going to play each other this season. The schedule has been designed. You guys will be hearing about it shortly. But taking a look at the schedule, because it seems if
I think they're in the same division, aren't they?
they're in the same division. So they're going to play each other twice. The first time we're going to see them play is week 3. That's going to be, mark it in your calendars, boys and girls. Week 3, Jamaica, Washington. Might be some fireworks going on there. But shifting gears a little bit, I want to point out on Jamaica's roster, you know, they got 9 spots to fill left on their team. They have $77.8 million in cap. That's a lot of money. That's almost just shy of like $8 million per player the rest of the way. Getting Deron Woods at bargain basement cost is a beautiful deal right there at 6.9 per year. They have money to go out and really attack this free agency market, and let's transition to that free agency market. If you know, there's some big names. As my little slide, big fish, small pond. There's a lot of big names. There's not a lot of places for these guys to go. For you guys, and I'll start with you, Noah. Who is and I'll go through each one of you. I want you to give me your big name that you are keeping an eye out, where you feel like this is the impact player for someone to go sign. Noah, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I will go ahead and mention the first guy that's on the list. I was a little bit bored last night, and I was looking through the stats and doing some admin and whatnot, and I realized that Warren Eagle, the tight end, he has 88 speed at tight end. And that's very abnormal thanks to my original abilities. Thank you. A little bit ahead of its time, but you know, it is what it is. But like Warren Eagle, like I think that that's going to be you try to find players that are different, that are special, that are anomalies, and that could be one of the bigger anomalies. Yeah, he's not as highly rated as he was, but looking at, I think last check he's at like 83, 84. But I think he could be a big contributor to a team that's looking for a little bit of speed, and maybe they don't have that option. There's going to be a lot of spaces that are going to be filled at tight end, but you have that little extra kick that I think could be really, really helpful. Not sure where he ends up. Maybe that's Washington, as we're looking at their roster right now. But there's a couple other possibilities, and I think that having that speed is going to be really big on an offense.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was looking at Washington as well, because the only one tight end on the roster right now. You got to wonder if they're going to be targeting him. And that tight end class it's fairly thin. Warren Eagle is really the guy who stands out the most, and he's only really, at this point, it says he's looking for about 6.7 mil. That's not bad for 3 seasons for a tight end that could really develop into something. He's only 22. He's about to be 23. I could totally see that. It was a good fit. Jake, how about you? What's a guy from this class that you're like, that is the impact player? Someone's going to pay big for him.
I think you guys are overlooking it. It's a guy who's played in the Gen Bowl. He's one of the best. He was one of the best young receivers. Joe Pierce. Like, he is just sitting there. He's gonna want a lot of money, but he is a top quality receiver. He is the highest rated receiver out of all of them. He's only 23 years old. He has Gen Bowl experience. Like, this is a guy who's going to come in and he's going to change your franchise.
Yeah, that's a hard one to argue with. I mean, he's 23 years old. 23 years old. And you talk about money, he's looking for 16.7 off the bat. So if there's a bidding war there, that's going to get big. And we're going to get to money in a little bit. I want to talk about that. But Jack, how about you? Final one. What is your player that you're like, that is the guy to get?
Well, for me at least, I'm gonna go with another tight end, another young gun that is definitely gonna be looked at by a lot of different teams. It's gonna be Benji Vanderhuge. One of the guys who got cut off from Vegas, due to them exiting the league. Another guy, he was meant to be the James Woodson replacement in Vegas this past couple seasons. He's a year older than Warren Eagle, but he still has a pretty solid build, all things considered. And you can get him at a $400,000 discount. So I wouldn't be surprised if Vanderhuge ends up going to some of these bigger name teams who may be looking for that same caliber of tight end, but at a little bit of a discount. Because you can still develop him. There still is room to grow with Benji Vanderhuge. And especially with some of these teams that already were kind of more fond of how Colin and Derek and them team, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe you see guys who may even have tight end spots filled might look to make an upgrade with someone like Vanderhuge.
I could definitely see that. I mean, those are kind of the two guys at the top of the market, and we'll see how aggressive teams are to go after that. My guy, it's two. It's kind of a split because it depends on which way you want to go. But the guy I have is Mojo Rising at cornerback. 27 years old, in 90 overall, really a top echelon of corner that I believe he's the highest rated corner in the league.
Yeah, he is.
It's very tough to find that high end talent, and there's quite a few teams that could use him. I think of teams who are in win now mode who want him. You think of Green Bay. They let their guy go, Deron Woods, this offseason. Their top corner is Jimmy Knight, who's hitting his 30s. He's only 81 overall. You think of Vermont. They let their two top corners go with Todd Taylor and Tyree Britton. They're going to be needing some help there. You think of Washington and even Long Beach. They don't have that true star cornerback. And you think of Mojo Rising, but then the other guy here is $1 million more expensive, but only an overall point less and 3 years younger. That's Chad Kruger, who was on Las Vegas. Those two guys, those are, if you need secondary help, are the guys I would be watching for in this draft, in this class, because everyone else in this class is getting older. You think of the Todd Taylors, and you think of the Tyree Brittons. They're getting up in there, and they're going to be a role player for some of these teams. Kurt McDuffie is in this class too. Another long-time legend of the WFA. But for teams that need future, I think those are the guys you're going to be looking for, because we don't really know what this draft class is going to be cornerback wise, and so I think that's going to be where the bidding war happens for some of these teams, especially me and Jack.
Good. I got my corners. I'm set.
It's very lucky to get corners. Okay, so I wanted to circle back. So obviously this offseason, a lot of changes. We're going to get to them all. If you have questions, put them in chat. We are going to get to all of the questions. However, money. And I have a graphic for this. Hold on. I always have a graphic. Just getting to the graphic.
Always have a graphic.
Nope. We're going to get the classes. That's everything. Okay, where's my graphic? Hold on. I have a graphic.
I saw it made, so it exists.
This whole idea was totally not come up with like 6 hours ago, or like yesterday.
Whatever. We'll stay on this. We'll stay on this one. I guess I didn't download it. But the question is, right, with this new salary cap, this new conversation, as Rise in the chat asking about best draft prospects. We'll get to that next. Well, that'll be our next little topic. But we already had two guys reset the market. Obviously, quarterbacks getting paid the most, but Jeremy Olinger for Vermont became the first non-quarterback in WFA history to get signed an over $14 million per season contract, and Martin Radzovic with the largest contract of a non-quarterback. I think it's $68 million. My question over the course of 4 seasons. My question for you guys: what is going to be the biggest contract we see? Is it going to come from this free agency class? Who's it going to be? Jack, I'm going to start with you.
Yes. Talk to the man who single-handedly reset the wide receiver market. And I remember I talked to you about this probably a couple days ago, Hammer. It's easy. It's Joe Pierce. Joe Pierce, when I'm talking about a guy who could possibly break the entire market as we know it, this guy is young. He is insanely talented. Got everything he could ever realistically want, and he's already asking for $16.7 million as is. And there are some teams out there. There are some teams out there that need receiver help, that have money to throw around. You got your Jamaicas, your Long Beach. Heck, you can even throw in Indiana, because we already know Ryder's put it out there. He's going to be aggressive in the receiver and running back market. You know, these are going to be the guys who are going to go out there and they're going to bring in Joe, and they're going to try and court in Joe Pierce. Basically, dang near blank check. I think he's going to probably be at least the one to break the market, which, you know, unfortunately for Green Bay and Vermont does not spell good news, because we have to end up paying our big name rookie receivers next year.
With Sheehan and
You know who's gonna get paid? You know who's gonna get paid? Najee Lewiston.
Oh my! I am
That
terrified.
man. He's just waiting to see what Joe Pierce gets.
Because we already know Skill loves to be aggressive with his money. It is what he is known for above anything else with Boston, is that he is aggressive with his money. You know, we all remember how much money he threw to get Cash Moon into Boston last year. Can you imagine how much he would end up, even just to re-sign someone like Lewiston? Oh, because Lewiston still has a couple years left on his deal, right?
He comes up next offseason. So next offseason we have Lewiston, Statler, Sheehan, all expiring. That's going to be an incredible market for the receivers. And you talk about where it could land. You know, I was just looking through. There is a couple. Obviously, Indiana. They have Deontay Brown, but he's 32. Ryder said he wants to get younger. Jamaica already has a really solid receiver room. Randy Pierce, Essex Denebola, Jeff Bainfield. But one team that caught my eye, Long Beach. They only have 3 receivers signed. They're 83 overall, 81, 81. They could use that upper echelon guy. They have $45 million in cap room to throw around, but they have a lot of spots.
Here's my thing with Long Beach is they got what is it? Let me pull up the roster.
They have a lot of spots to fill.
They have a lot of spots to fill. They don't have a top corner. They only have one safety. Do you start Rasheed Davis into the next season? And next season, Lance Washington's deal is up, and that means you're going to probably need to pay a good amount of money.
Yeah, he's looking to be one of the higher paid running backs in the league. And I think the thing with Long Beach is you have to spend your money smartly this offseason, because, like we said, you don't have all the money. You only have $45 million. You have a lot of spots to fill. And the last 2 teams I thought about for Joe Pierce, obviously Pottsville has a connection there. The Pierce connection. Pottsville only has 2 receivers signed, Kane Roush and Junior Samples. They could use a secondary target. But the problem, the monkey wrench throws into all of this. There's a team that only needs 10 guys signed. Washington needs 10 guys signed, and they have just shy of $62 million in cap space. There's nobody who is going to be able to outbid the Wastelanders.
Yeah, the check already got sent from Washington. It's a blank check. Yeah. They just sent it to Joe Pierce's house. They're just waiting for free agency opening. Don't worry, guys. It's not tampering. He paid me enough money.
He tampered with the commissioner first, so it's fine.
Yeah.
There's breaking news on the Joe Pierce market. I don't know if you saw who just claimed their player, but
you can do that
Pierce
now. He's no longer staff.
Colin Pierce claiming Joe Pierce, and that to me right there tells us all we need to know about where he's gonna go. All we need to know about where he's gonna go. Now, here's the thing: as a user player, he gets to decide what contract he accepts. However, he cannot sign below the AAV listed on the free agency sheet, which means that Joe Pierce will sign a minimum $16.7 million contract.
And now the offseason has got a lot more interesting.
So now you should look at the
And-
rest of the guys, because Roosevelt's out there too. Will Roosevelt claim his player? That's another question. That is
I don't know.
Very curious.
That is exciting breaking news. Thank you, Noah, for pulling that out. And that brings us. Okay, so Rise brought up a little couple seconds ago or minutes ago. He said best draft prospects. Let's take a look at who we have. We have about 6 draft prospects on the sheet right now. I know there's a couple more I haven't put into the sheet, but let's look at the ones we have right now. And we have at the moment. I'll pull up the big board. Let me give you guys a little bit of a view of the big boss board, if you will. As you can see here,
Yay, it's named after me.
There's 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, defensive end, free safety, 2 receivers. The receivers haven't been built out yet. Jay Sean Harper, his build isn't in here yet. I haven't had a chance to put his build in, so he's going to be a little bit better. But there's a guy here that catches my eye. I think he catches all of our eyes because he's the most intriguing build that has ever been made in WFA history. Who would like to take this? Jake, I see you smiling. I'm going to send this to you. Tell us about our guy, Deshaun Wallace.
That boy fast. That boy can move.
He 98 speed, 96 agility, 98 stamina. He is fast, and he can run for a long time. But the thing is, the thing is though, his durability 71, his strength 46, his catching 40. He is a glass cannon. And that durability, you're like, oh, it's only 9 points lower. And APF durability goes from 0 to 60 real quick. So if he can stay on the field, that guy's going to be incredible. I want to ask you this. So obviously it has listed here some fits that he could be. It says the Krabs, Kaji Wallace combo could be wild. His Dayton, his Washington. But looking over the mock draft, where do you think, I'm going to go around the horn here and we're going to each predict, where does Deshaun Wallace end up? Noah, I'll start with you.
I think you have to look at it as this is an offensive threat. This isn't going to be, oh, I need a star running back. This is, okay, what can I do with this piece of my offense? And I think that both, somehow they do this all the time. Vermont and Green Bay in the top 5. You have to imagine, and Des Moines as well, having threats that are going to be used. Now, do they need these players? No.
Yes.
And that's why I think some people don't. But like if you have Bradley Davis on your roster, you don't need another running back. But you have something that is so abnormal. Once again, no one has this. So you can use it to your advantage. That is an awesome kick returner. Like just straight up, that is incredible. Like just imagine the things that you can do. So I think we're gonna go with, because now if I speak it into existence now, it won't happen. But give it to Vermont. Have Bradley Davis and then a 98 speed next to him. Incredible.
Jake, where do you think he's going to go?
I don't know. I think if he slips out of that top 4, which I feel like he could, I feel like he can go to Jamaica, he can go to Des Moines, he can go to Vermont, he can go to Green Bay. But those teams may be looking at different areas that they need to build on. But there's one team that they only have a few roster spots open, and one of those is a running back. Number 5, the Memphis.
That is a good...
Put in with Malia.
That's a good pull. And we don't know where they're going to go re-signing wise yet. They haven't re-signed their players. They're coming up on the wire on that one, so we'll see how they do there. But yeah, I could see them going to number 5. and Jack, I'll go to you finally, and then I'll say my thoughts on it. Where do you think the speedster glass cannon Deshaun Wallace goes?
All right, so Deshaun Wallace. Obviously, there may be some allegations about there that I would be looking at him, and a weapon like that cannot be denied, especially to pair up with yeah. He's built. His build is pretty much what you look for when you're recruiting wide receivers in CFB 25, Jake.
Except for the catching. Except for the catching being absolutely crap.
I don't think you understand. He'll go for like a 70 some odd catching guy if he has enough speed. But
this guy's a 40 catching though.
Yeah. But I will say this:
it don't matter
when it comes to possible 1-2 punt to the possible picks. I do like Memphis though too. Memphis is not terrible, but I think honestly, the team that really kind of scratches my itch when it comes to that, I could see him falling down to Long Beach. I could see him. Yeah, they would need that superstar, someone who could even like play around on the field. You could have him doing multiple different things, and he'd be so cheap too. Because you have to remember, Long Beach doesn't have a whole lot of money to throw around, and with a superstar like that, just waiting right there for them. Because you have to also remember, a lot of what they need is depth guys. They don't need that many game changers outside of maybe their receiver room and quarterback. I could definitely see, if he falls down there, Long Beach taking him. But obviously, does he fall down that far?
Yeah.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see now, won't we?
There's another element that I don't think we're considering with Deshaun Wallace. And Deshaun Wallace in the chat right now. What's up? He says that Wallace does not need to catch. So he's just that good.
Okay.
Don't forget, if you're watching, hit the like button on the video because I said so. And don't forget to subscribe, do all the things, join the server, blah, 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 all that stuff. Yada, 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 YouTuber speak. Back to the things we're talking about. One element I don't think we're talking about right now is the set cap hits for draft picks. If he's going to go in the top 5, he's going to be making near $8 million. Do you want to draft him if you're not going to have him as your star, an $8 million backup running back? For Long Beach, that's 7.6 if he's taken there at 7. It's something you have to consider.
It's a different kind of system, but think about what Wyoming did. And like having that in your offense, having 2 running backs who can do the work, it's been shown to be possible. You just have to be willing to commit to it, and so we'll see if that's a thing. But
I think with Wallace, a lot of it's going to play into the prospects games that we see coming up here, because we're gonna have a little prospect tournament, best from all the colleges, basically 4 teams, round robin, the championship game. How players do in this game relative to the other players of the position, their ratings will fluctuate as you go through this year. So we could see Wallace pick up a few points in catching, pick up a few points in strength. Maybe that bumps him up. I think these prospect games are going to change where he goes, because if Wallace comes out and he just tears the world apart, and think about all the coppers that are going to be on the field, he's going to be almost double the speed of these linebackers out here. And if he just comes out here and rips the world apart, I don't think he goes outside the top 5, because it's going to be so tantalizing seeing this guy go for 200 yards, just rip it around, go on his kick return, stuff like that. But as he says in the chat, not gonna lie, when I was making the build, didn't even see the durability. I'm so used to having injuries off. Yeah, it's an element you have to recognize here. More realistically, a lot of sim leagues don't do realism with injuries, and it's hard. I think we've had a lot of a very good balance in this one, so we'll see how it goes this season. But if Wallace comes out and he gets hurt in these 4 games, do we see his stock fall? How far do we see his stock fall? Assuming it's not something long term, but just seeing that, already you see the little chips. and I'm going to throw it to you, Vibe. Do you see a scenario where Wallace falls out of the first round?
I think it would have to be something like bordering catastrophic happening. And it happening early. Like, say, within the first half of that first game, he goes down and it looks like it could be bad. And then, like, say he misses, 2 games, right? And he comes back game 3 or 4 and he gets hurt again. I could see him maybe at that point falling out of the first round. But even then, depending on what his ratings look like after that point, I could still see him being taken on as basically a flyer, right? Because if you're a team who has, say, 1 running back and you have some cap room to play around with, right? Maybe not the most. Maybe your team, again, Long Beach is the first one that comes to mind, right? He would be the perfect player to basically say, screw it, let's take a chance on a guy and let's see what we can do with him. Because obviously they have Lance Washington on an expiring deal next year. So you're basically in a situation where if Wallace succeeds, then he becomes your new guy at a cheaper value than you would have probably gotten Lance Washington for. And if he doesn't work out, hey, it's only $2 million more. You don't have to worry about running with him full time. It's an interesting scenario. Do I think he falls outside the first round fully? Probably not, even in this situation. Because, you look at the back end of the first round, there still are some teams that are willing to take a flyer.
Yeah.
Again, that back half where it's really just Des Moines, Vermont, and Green Bay.
Yeah.
With how many draft picks, I guess you and I are sitting on, could we, at that point, if our rosters are pretty much filled out everywhere else, could we say, screw it, and just take a flyer on him? Maybe.
Yeah.
But as with everything with the draft, that'll all be determined on draft night, right?
Yeah.
And I think
Go ahead, Noah.
I think it has a lot to do with how teams build in the offseason. You're not going to do what you used to do, which is just, all right, I'm going to leave a spot open for a gold running back and then just draft whoever's there. You're going to have to really look at the prospect and see, does this player fill that need? I'm not just going to be able to automatically set it. I'm going to have to think, work through it. So it's going to be the team that if you built the rest of your team out and then you have a luxury draft pick, it's going to be a lot easier to draft him than a team that's who were we talking about that didn't have, if you didn't have a back and you're relying on him to be number 1, it's just not going to be the right risk. There's going to be another talent that's going to be more balanced, and while they're not going to be as explosive, the risk is going to be too high. So if teams have spent their money, have put all their pieces in place, I think that makes him a lot higher. If teams are saving, all right, I'm going to leave a spot open for you, I think that'll make it position forward, and then that'll make his value lower.
Jake, what's your round us out here? What's your final take on this?
I think he looked really good in black and gold. We all know I love speed. Speed kills. Yep. Green Bay. We already have a 99 speed player on the team.
Yeah. No, actually, we don't. We don't. There's a roster error there.
Oh, he's 98 or something.
It was roster error. So.
Yeah, he's like one below.
But yeah, it's gonna be an interesting draft. Yeah, you see Deshaun Wallace saying, "Cheese don't sound bad."
How about maple syrup?
No, just not the same. Not the same. But I do agree. I don't see him getting out of the first round because Green Bay 4 picks, Vermont 2 picks, Jackson 2 picks, Long Beach has it says there's so many places he could go, and you don't see that kind of talent in the WFA ever. He's super unique. Yeah, I'm gonna be interested to see if anyone tries to trade up for him, especially as these prospect games go. If Des Moines had a space, I'd expect them to take him, but they're pretty packed up. And I don't know how Des Moines is gonna make their draft picks right now. They have 3 spots to fill in the roster, and they have $9 million in cap. The first overall pick, the price for that, or the second overall pick, is 8.2. So they have like $600,000 to spend on.
We're gonna see a lot of trades.
We're gonna see. I
think Des Moines Des Moines should be stopping that number 2 pick. So I would not be surprised if you see a team like who's already said they want to be aggressive. You know, your Indianas, who doesn't have a first round pick
because they traded it to us.
You know, you might want to see Ryder if he sees Des Moines start shopping that number 2 overall pick. You might see Indiana make a move if they see someone they like a Wallace.
That's good thing to point out is there's been no movement in the first round of next year's draft. So everyone still has their own picks for the next 2 seasons. We'll see if that lasts.
That's a miracle.
I know, right? We'll see if that lasts. Free agency opening not tomorrow, but on Monday, free agency will open. So we're going to see how all this shakes out. Get your prospects in. We're going to be closing that up pretty soon. Me and Vibe are going to be working on putting the rosters together so we can get those games going. Because injuries are a real factor. And I just want to briefly go over this. I'll switch over to the AMA screen. I don't know if anyone has a lot of questions, but either way, I just want to, before we get to the Hall of Fame stuff, I want to talk about a little bit about injuries, because we worked on making these injuries way more realistic than they normally are in a sim league, because sometimes it can just end up being you just screwed over by injuries. So how they work is that every injury that happens inside of the game, it will pop up the little thing that tells you how long you're out. Doesn't totally apply because the game is so arcane that it's not always super realistic. Like, broken nose is putting you out for 8 weeks. Not super realistic. So we've taken all those injuries and we've graphed out basically the chance of recovery for every week, right? So like an ACL, it's like 40% chance of recovery after 30 weeks, but like 10% after 20 weeks, for example. So when you have that injury, we'll go through and roll, basically see when you're going to recover within the timeline. Then we'll post in the Discord when you're going to recover, and you'll know when you're going to be able to come back and all that. So just a brief thing on the injuries. Me and Jake plan to talk a little bit more about the rules. Obviously, if you have more rule questions, you can let us know here. But I do want to get to the Hall of Fame, because we changed how the Hall of Fame voting went. Now players and contributors have to be nominated by an owner. They can nominate, I think, up to 2 players per cycle. These nominated players are then brought to the Hall of Fame Commission. Hall of Fame Commission includes myself, Jake, Noah, Jack, Joel Williams, former owner of the Voodoo, he's a Gem Bowl winner, Hall of Fame inductee himself, Coach Barr from the Maroons. So we have Dave Barr there. And Sam Lautner. The 7 of us, we're the Hall of Fame committee. The 7 of us pick our top 5 players from this class. And so this season, let me pull it up. The nominees that we had for the Hall of Fame were, as contributors, Jack Brown, owner of the Vermont Bull Moose, Captain Loggins from Wyoming, obviously had his last season this year. Players were Malcolm Middlebrooks, quarterback Travis Matthews, wide receivers Bryant Bennett and Tyler Holmes, defensive end Hugh Hugo, linebackers Dave Willingham, Lewis Levins, and cornerback Todd Taylor. So we had those guys. Those guys get put into the committee. We each put our top 5, and it's ranked, right? Top guy gets 5 points, bottom guy gets 1 point. The 5 guys that have the most points get to go to the finalist round. And this is all so that the Hall of Fame it's important that we keep it, the integrity of it, that only the best players and contributors make it into the Hall of Fame. We want a certain bar that making the Hall of Fame means something. So out of those those nominees, there would end up being 6 finalists because there was a tie in points. The 6 finalists were contributors Jack Brown, players defensive tackle Hugh Hugo, cornerback Todd Taylor, receiver Tyler Holmes, quarterback Travis Matthews, and linebacker Lewis Levins. And so two.
You can switch it over to the other thing that you worked on, the bottom.
Oh yeah, thank you, thank you. I have something for
You
this.
actually get to use it.
Wait, and there we go.
There you-
So we'll put out. Maybe we'll make a little video announcing the Hall of Fame things too. But to announce, and we'll clip this. We can clip this for later and post it as its own video. But so I will give it a little intro. Okay. The season 12 class of the World Football Hall of Fame. Obviously, our final we had 6 finalists. We mentioned them: Hugh Hugo, Todd Taylor, Tyler Holmes, Travis Matthews, Jack Brown, and Lewis Levins. Of these 6 finalists, 3 players have been inducted into the Hall of Fame. We'll name them. The first one is defensive tackle with 100% of the vote, Hugh Hugo. Legend. Welcome to the Hall of Fame, Hugh Hugo. He was a one-time Defensive Player of the Year award winner, 2-time Lockhart Award winner. Hugh Hugo, just incredible player. Welcome to the Hall of Fame, Hugh Hugo. Second player with 100% of the vote as well, cornerback Todd Taylor. Gem Bowl champion with your Victoria Vanguard. He himself, one-time Defensive Player of the Year award, one-time McDuffie Award winner. He is now a Hall of Famer. And our final player who was inducted to the Hall of Fame this cycle, Wolfpack legend, wide receiver Tyler Holmes. One of the greatest receivers the league has ever seen. One-time Fitzgerald Award winner. Welcome to the Hall of Fame, Tyler Holmes. Those are your 3 Season 12 World Football Hall of Fame inductees: Hugh Hugo, Tyler Holmes, and Todd Taylor. Welcome to the World Football Hall of Fame. Give yourself a round of applause.
Yeah, you didn't get in.
Jack didn't get in.
And you snubbed Todd Taylor of his other Gen Bowl that he won with me.
Oh yeah, I did. 2-time Gem Bowl winner Todd Taylor.
Does he have a Berserkers one too?
Was he on that S9 Berserkers team?
He may have been.
I don't know.
Todd Taylor is a beast.
I think so.
He also has a game. I think he has the game with the most interceptions.
Really damn good.
I think he had a game with 6 interceptions.
Market if anyone wants him.
Skill had him as the quarterback. No, that was McDuffie. Never mind. I hate McDuffie. But McDuffie's already in the Hall of Fame. But yeah, congratulations to the 3 guys who made the Hall of Fame. Levins, Matthews, Brown. You guys, better luck next year. Travis Matthews is always an interesting Hall of Fame case, and I wanted to bring this up right now because the 3 of us all have our opinions on Travis Matthews. As we see Jake sit up in his chair. What I'm gonna do is we can get in the weeds on this, but keep it brief. Noah, I want you to give us your case for Travis Matthews making the Hall of Fame, and then Jack and Jake, you can rebut that. Also brief. So try to keep this in like a minute or 2. All right, so all of you. So Noah, go. Tell us why Travis Matthews should be wearing a gold jacket right now.
I nominated Travis Matthews because I saw that Middlebrooks was nominated, and I'm like, all right, well, if we're going to do that, then let's put Trav on the board. MVP, Jake is going to complain about it. Gen Bowl champ twice. People are going to complain about it. The only reason that he didn't continue to be as good as he could have been was the system he was in. I forget how it all went down, but I know that the Corn Kings gave up on him, and then Detroit got him, and we know what happens to people that go to Detroit. But Travis Matthews had the talent, and he did show up for a long, long time, even in terrible situations, and he was a winner. He was the gunslinger. He was the guy that you could rely on to make a play at the end of the game. Incredible in the Gen Bowl. He is always a guy, I think he had a 5-touchdown Gen Bowl, if I remember correctly. He is a legend in the league. I think that he really should have been in there. There's other quarterbacks that are in the Hall of Fame that he is on the same level as, and of course there's always going to be the because I know the lore well. Bob Greasy is a Hall of Famer, so anyone can be. But like having a guy who meant so much to the league as one of the faces of the league in the Hall of Fame, I think is very important, and that's why he should have been there.
All right, Jake, take it away.
All right, here's my argument: is that I gave him my vote to get in.
All right, Jack.
I will forever fight his MVP. His MVP is stupid, and you all know it. But whatever. But I can't argue. He does have he does have 2 Gen goals. He unfortunately has an MVP. You can't not put him in. He'll get in.
Yeah. I think just the situation this year was just that like the people around him, they just had a quicker path in, and next year is not gonna get any easier. It's like next year it ain't gonna get any easier. Bradley Davis is gonna be up for a nomination next year, so that's probably gonna get him in first ballot.
And Bradley Davis, yeah, he has Gen Bulls, but he didn't deserve his MVP either. Y'all know it.
I will give both sides.
Okay, Jake, this is not your therapy session, all right? Come on now.
You're right. It's not long enough.
That's what she said. I lost my train of thought. I lost it myself. I'll give the case for and against Travis Matthews. I will start. Would you like me to start with for and against? You guys pick.
I think since we heard a bunch of fours, I think you can give the against.
I will tell you one stat. 87. 87 is how many.
That is a number.
How many touchdowns Akaji Adebawale has in the regular season. The next closest active player is over 30 touchdowns behind him, and Joel Woods. There is only 3 players in WFA history to ever hit 50 rushing touchdowns. Adebawale, Cade Smith, Chris Dixon. Dixon and Smith aren't in the league right now. Woods has 49, Akaji 87. This man's going to hit 100 touchdowns, and Travis Matthews had him behind him. Akaji deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Akaji deserves all the trophies. Akaji deserves the Gem Bulls. Going back to Travis Matthews' MVP season. His MVP season was season 3. Travis Matthews led the league in passing. He led the league in touchdowns. Great. You want to know?
And percentage.
And percentage.
Don't sleep on the percentage.
That's fair. That's fair.
Analytics.
Akaji Adebawale had 19 touchdowns.
3 yards to carry.
19.
Are you shitting on your own running back?
He is.
Hey,
Nine,
I'm a contrarian.
I literally started the meme in our DMs of the Bradley Davis fraud watch. All right, he can crap on Akaji.
19.
I think I'm
touchdowns.
defending my decision because I think I chose this, if I remember correctly.
Probably did. 19 touchdowns has never been touched in WFA history again, and it never will be touched in WFA history. Travis Matthews has been outdone. Travis Matthews has had guys throw for incredible seasons and have better seasons and not win the MVP. The next season, Hugo Zachary threw for just shy of 5,000 yards. Season 5, Nate Peterman threw for shy of 5,000 yards. Season 6, Peterman threw for over 5,000 yards. Having a guy around 5,000 yards is very standard for the WFA. Having a guy with 19 touchdowns this season is not. This is my final argument for and against, I guess. Do you guys believe that Art Vandelay deserves to be in the Hall of Fame?
I think at the time it seemed like he was on that trajectory. I think he was put in way too soon.
This is why you don't put
Way
in
too
active
soon.
players. Jake, you say no. Vibe, what do you say?
If you put in Art,
Should you put it on?
with how as of right now, probably not.
So, I'm going to put you some stats. All time, Travis Matthews has 17,000 passing yards. Art Vandelay has 15,000. All time, Travis Matthews has 107 passing touchdowns. Art Vandelay has 108. All time, Travis Matthews has 80 interceptions. Art Vandelay has 82. They are the Travis Matthews all time 67% passer. Art Vandelay 66% passer. QBR Travis Matthews 92.9 QBR. Art Vandelay 93.3. They are the same player. They're the same player. We cannot say that Art Vandelay doesn't deserve to be in the Hall and say Travis Matthews does.
And Jack P is in the Hall.
Jack P, I will defend with my life. Jack P,
He deserves it.
Jack P is fourth all time in passing yards. Jack P is fourth all time in touchdowns. Jack P has.
He didn't have to play in Detroit.
He had to play in Wyoming, which wasn't.
Travis Matthews chose that life.
Travis Matthews chose that life. Nate Peterman
I was gonna
has
say-
to play with the Crabs, who can't do an offense the last few seasons.
I mean, also you have to consider Jack P had to operate in the offense that basically runs akin to the University of Michigan in real life, where it's just you hand the ball off to Chris Dixon about 90% of the time and watch him go. So the fact that for how little passing he actually did, he put up those numbers, it's actually kind of insane.
You want to know who has more touchdowns and more yards than Travis Matthews? Malcolm Middlebrooks, Mason Jackson, Julio Reyes.
They had more starts. They had more time.
Travis Matthews
Travis was
has a I don't even know what to say. Travis Matthews is going to be forever the argument for the fringe Hall of Famer.
Yeah, because at this point, this was the year. I don't know what's going to change next year that makes him a Hall of Famer if people decided he wasn't this year. So I don't know what would change to put him in. And that's why I'm like, I think this was his shot. And then with guys coming up that are going to, and I don't know if it's going to be from the quarterback position. I mean, TD's going to get there maybe eventually. He's got the best statistics as of right now. But there's going to be people that are going to be better talents. Travis at this
Matthews
point,
is Eli Manning.
yeah.
Yeah, it's we are having the Eli Manning argument. Except it's Eli Manning if Eli Manning had an MVP.
Yeah.
But
So what
but
was
I'm saying, I did give Matthews my vote. Matthews had it.
So then wait a minute. So then what will make Art Vandelay that in our great conversation?
Art Vandelay is well, no, he doesn't even.
Cam Newton.
No, he didn't.
Malcolm
even make,
Middlebrooks is the Phil Rivers.
Yeah, Middlebrooks
for
is
sure.
Philip Rivers.
Yeah.
Peterman is like
Art is about
Brett Favre. Oh no, Peterman's gonna rip off the state allegedly.
Look. Just wait until we start having the Michael Napoli as Matthew Stafford arguments.
I ain't here for that. I ain't here for that argument.
I'm just now processing that you compared my offense to Detroit. I'm not that. I'm bad. I'm not that.
You got cooked, my boy.
Yeah. All right. I don't know. Do you guys have anything else you want to say on this stream, or shall we wrap this up for the people at home?
Did the people at home have anything to say?
Scandal, the fake
You
shake
know
of
what?
head. There's no
I just have to
INC.
we have to really make sure we have this disclaimer. Even though he's not in a staff position, please stop trading your first round draft picks to Colin. Even though he doesn't have a team, we got to really make sure no one does it.
No one trade your first round draft picks. I mean, I think we all know where he's going, but we're not going to say it right now.
Okay, so PSA. Actually, I'm going to go PSA to you know who you. Actually, you know what? You know who you are. You know who you are. You don't have a pick in the top 5 this year. You don't have a pick in the first round this season. You never have a pick in the first round because you always trade it to me. Stop. Stop doing it. Stop. Stop it. No. Don't. If I DM you, say no. If Colin DMs you,
Don't
say
actually say no. Keep doing it.
Don't do it.
They're gonna keep asking.
Touch, man, touch.
I think I'm still getting New Haven Lancers first round picks.
just as like a auxiliary, just back end.
Oh, another PSA. If you're a quarterback, don't go to Des Moines.
That's true too.
You'll be
Don't
traded
do
for
it.
Hugo.
You will.
And Hugo, why don't you just stay with the corn?
Hugo, go home already. Go back to Rapid.
Retire. You're old and fat.
Well, he always was.
Well, he's always been
Well,
fat.
But he wasn't old.
I don't think he can control that.
Age is a number. Age is just a number, Jake.
His name on.
Age is just
Whoa,
a number.
whoa, Hammer, hold on now. They not like us. They not like us.
Mustard on the beat. WFA
Having a good
today,
time.
WFA tomorrow, WFA yesterday. It's gonna be a good day
The
as long as the
James
WFA.
and Jake.
Hey, forever.
With that, I think we end this one. That's gonna do it. I'm Hammer. He's Noah.
How many
He's Jake.
points do you think Hammer got on that last rant on around the horn? How many points do you think he would have been given?
Like
A
maybe
lot.
12.
I'll take 12. That's 5. The one who's not moving. This is WFA today. Go stick around. Go make a player if you haven't already. And we will see you again at some point. Peace.